welcome back to the Fan Forum podcast. We're live streaming here. This is Hitch's best football movies ever, his lineup. We're just waiting for Mr. Scarcella to join us now. I don't know where he's at, but... All right, welcome back to the Fan Forum. Oh, you can hear me going live over live. He must be watching. How are we doing, everybody? I see we have one live listener out there. Is this tomorrow's show, or are we also doing a full show this week? This is tomorrow's show that you're seeing. So you're going to get tomorrow's show. This will be a little bit more chopped up and edited, but Mr. Scarcella, where are we? We're waiting on Hitch to show up. He claims he's in the lobby. I sent him like 12 links. Let's try this again. We're going to invite him for the 100th time. And when he does come on, I'm going to show him the emails that I send him that say, use this link. Use this link. All right, I sent him a new link. We'll see what happens. Right? See, even the doctor knows. Well, it's not that he's late. He's just not technically savvy. So... I think we're going to get him a new laptop. I think he still uses a typewriter. Maybe that's why. Tracy, if you're watching this, can you help him? He's texting me right now. Just sent you another link. He's in the lobby waiting like a peon. All right, so while we're waiting for Hitch, I was driving home today, and they were doing 97.1 was doing their stupid mock drafts, and it got me thinking, I'm really glad that we didn't do our own mock draft, because the arguments that you can make for this player, that player. I mean, if you're literally going to sit here and tell me, if you're doing Detroit radio, whether it's like your local radio or a podcast like us, you're not biased towards the Lions. Of course, you're going to set everything up to where you get who you want. So I just can't stand these mock drafts. And, maybe it's because we're also in an organization where we trust our GM. Maybe that's why. Hey, it's the Hitchster.
Hey, I made it.
Look at that.
Little technical difficulty, but we're figuring the bugs out here.
Hey, but your audio sounds good and you look good.
Good. I think trying to replicate what we had going last week, that sounded really good. So,
yeah.
What did I...
Hell yeah, it did. Well, I was just going on about the... I listened to 97.1. They were doing their stupid mock draft. And, it's ridiculous if you think you're going to do a whole 32-team mock draft when you're a biased Detroit Lions fan, right? You're going to set certain things up to go a certain way, so it's kind of just like killing air. So I think the fact that you and I are doing this best football movies is way more applicable than hearing Stoney talk about what defensive tackle he thinks the Lions are going to draft.
Yeah, I've tried over the years to use some of my favorite apps to do some mock drafts just for fun, independent of this, and it's different being subjective, when I'm just playing around and trying to see how everything might shake out. But when you're appealing to the masses on a FM radio station, you're going to be biased. That's your job. So
that's your job. What are you going to get out of that? So I don't know. I think we make for better entertainment. That's all I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I think this will be a good one. We did something similar to this years back when we first started doing this, and we got a good response from, I think our topic was like greatest football movie of all time. And anytime we went outside of the box to greatest, Detroit sport athlete or something, we got a favorable response. And I'm not going to lie, I way overthought this last night. I sat down with a pen and paper and very little Google support. I tried to come up with as much as I could. I had a little group chat going with some buddies saying, what am I forgetting here? I didn't completely achieve the goal. I have a couple empty slots because I just got tired. It was like 1 a.m, and I thought, this will give us something to talk about. The slots that I couldn't fill in, I'm sure I'm missing somebody. we can fire away whenever you want. Maybe we want to see if anything happened during the week, noteworthy of actual real news.
Yeah, let's do that real
Yeah.
quick. I think that's a great idea.
So, I d-
So what are you feeling right now?
well, being
What's your attitude towards the way things are going to shake out?
being that this is mock draft season, albeit biased and flawed, and these guys like Mel Kiper, Todd McShay, I've never been a fan of, but it's all over the place. Every podcast I subscribe to, every time I turn on my TV, everybody but us are doing their mock drafts, and this is the time of the year where I think you start seeing. I don't know if they're striving to make some bold predictions, or if it really is just that much of throwing darts. I've seen a few national guys go Kenneth Grant as high as like 7. So that's a different tune than after the combine and some of these early mock drafts. A guy that we've talked about, coveting as a potential Detroit Lion. I've seen some really weird trade up, trade down scenarios. I don't know. What have you been seeing anything crazy?
Well, I'm a little bit of both, but the one thing I was just noticing was the last couple days we talked about Dart and Sanders falling out of the first round, and I'm seeing more mock drafts now where that's a reality, right? I'm also seeing guys like Derek Harmon fall into the second round and James Pierce. So there seems to be, when I say deep on D tackle, I mean we're looking at guys that Wayne was freaking out about as going top 10 now falling back into the second round.
Yeah, and it's all just conjecture. That's what makes this fun. Gone are the days, especially the last few years, without these real elite prospect quarterbacks over the last few years. Gone are the days where the number one pick is locked in a month ahead of the draft. It's been interesting in that regard that it truly is a mystery.
Yeah, Stafford, I watched a video of him talking about his draft experience, and he knew he was going to be a Lion 2 days going before the draft. Sure. So he said he already knew he was going to sit down, stand right back up. And when they called him the next morning to figure out what jersey number he wanted, apparently he had just got done partying with the boys and
whooping it up.
He said 7, and they said, no, that's taken. It's a retired number.
Who did they retire at 7? An old timer? Was it
1934? Yeah. Something like that. Number 7. So Dutch Clark.
Okay.
31 to 38.
Damn.
So that was probably what you were in 8th grade.
Yeah. The light bulb. We just acquired our first light bulb at that time, I believe.
It's a big moment for this Carcella family that year. So he leans over to his buddies and he's like, "What number should I be?" And they're like, 9. He's like, 9? Sure. I mean, I don't know. Like you said, it kind of ruins it, honestly. Yeah. He was kind of over it before it even happened.
Well, and from a fan perspective, too, it is nice to watch teams use the full clock and know that they're wheeling and dealing. And now with cameras just being everywhere, you get, I think I can speak for both of us. We're every bit as excited for like the day after round 1, the lead up to the night of round 2, where they start releasing some film from inside the war rooms and the reactions of the picks and everything. It's just a whole event now. It always has been propped up as this huge thing, but now more than ever, it really is like the off-season event and all off-season events. It's awesome.
The Super Bowl before the Super Bowl.
Well, and for a long time, it was our Super Bowl, right? It was all we had to look forward to.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. It's nice picking at 28.
Well, speaking of look forwarding, I've been looking forward to your picks. So let's hear it, man. You're a huge movie guy. You're kind of my movie go-to guy when it comes to especially older movies. I know you're always down to pick up a new one.
Yeah.
But what do you got? What do you think?
So let me state some criteria here, because we were kind of all over the map when we talked about doing this. But what I dialed in on last night, I think there's only one TV show that is mentioned, and we agreed that we could use biopics, but that just felt like cheating. So I didn't use any biopics. I mean, there's been so many good football movies based on real athletes, based on collegiate careers and based on some pro careers, that I abstained from that. I wanted to get creative and not just take the low hanging fruit. So there's no Jim Thorpe. You know, there's a couple of guys, two guys from a movie called Everybody's All American that makes my list that are based on real dudes, but one of those kind of based on a book where the names were changed. But we can
To protect the identities of the...
yeah, to protect the innocent. So right off the rip, let's just go in like offense through defensive depth chart order. And what I tried to do is fill out like an actual depth chart. I certainly didn't get to 53, but I have like 3 quarterbacks, 3 running backs, a fullback. But we'll get into it. Tell me if you've seen these movies and disagree with me if you need to. I'm sure you will for some of these.
I'm going to let you know. Don't worry.
So Any Given Sunday, have you seen it?
Oh, yes,
Okay,
I have.
That's one that's worthy of a rewatch every now and then. It's not in my every, football season repertoire, like draft day, if you will. But Any Given Sunday, great movie, kind of withstood the test of time, garnered some respect after the fact, didn't do great in theaters like some other Oliver Stone movies because it's so long and detail-oriented. But I have Cap Rudy, the Dennis Quaid quarterback that gets injured at the beginning. The herniated disc injury, and that's when Willie Beeman takes over. So I have a little bit of method to this madness.
Let's hear it.
So going with Cap...
Is that your number one
That's
quarterback, or is that
on my list here? That's my starter.
Okay.
But
I'm shocked you didn't go with Shane Falco.
well, not to say that he may not have made this list, but going in, like I said, I way nerded out on this. Spent way too much time on this, but constructing this team as if I was like a expansion franchise, right? So there's a method to most of these picks. I'm going for something here.
Okay. There's a method to your
There
madness.
certainly is. I'm going for something, and maybe it'll flesh itself out as we go here. But Cap Rudy's the veteran, right? He is coming on board here to be the field general, the gap starter, maybe. When watching that movie, I don't remember what year it came out, maybe 99, 2000, something like that. It can't help but wonder, is that character based off of like the Brett Favre, the Drew Bledsoe type field general? I think it was. But then underneath him, I have Paul Crewe from Longest Yard. But important to note, I thought something was on fire over there, but we're good.
I was going to say.
Got a little, saw something shiny. Paul Crewe from the 1974 Longest Yard, not the Adam Sandler Paul Crewe, but the Burt Reynolds Paul Crewe.
The Burt Reynolds
Paul
okay.
Crewe. And then after that, a kind of a split decision here. So one of these guys might be practice squatted or released down the line, but it was a tough decision for me between Shane Falco, Keanu Reeves from Replacements, classic, great movie, and a lesser-known Reno Hightower movie.
Okay, that's one that I was not too familiar with, I'll be honest.
Yeah,
with
so
you.
I think this movie is called Best of Times, and it was one that I was partial to when I was little. It's a great movie. It's very rewatchable. Hey, Ludo.
What's going on?
He's
Ludo?
a fan of Reno Hightower.
He's a huge fan.
So Reno, immortalized by the great Kurt Russell, he played a high school an aging high school quarterback that got an opportunity to go back and replay this rivalry game. His wide receiver one was Robin Williams, who I believe also makes who I believe also makes this list. It's certainly a comedy. But kind of set up like they get to redeem themselves because of this missed opportunity that this connection of Reno Hightower and Robin Williams had in their glory days. So they get to relive this one game and try to kind of redeem themselves in this small town. And it was kind of an instant classic in my mind. It was one that I watched a lot when I was a kid. Very, very rewatchable for me for a lot of reasons.
Okay, I'm going to have to give that one a shot. So you've got quarterback 1, 2, 3, and 4. So you've got a stacked quarterback.
Yeah,
roster.
quarterbacks were easy, man. And I did a little bit of Googling when I got deeper into this list, and it's certainly easier to find the quarterbacks, right? Because they're always the main characters. They're always the stories constructed around the QB in most of these movies. So I didn't go for the low-hanging fruit and wanted to dig a little deeper.
Well, let me. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take a pause and take care of this dog while you finish up your list.
Yeah.
I'll be back in 2
Yeah,
seconds.
sure, dude. Take your time. I got plenty to talk about. So we'll recap this when Mark gets back too. But just noticing for the first time here after reviewing this live, there's a running back on my list, also played by Dennis Quaid, who played Cap Rudy, my QB1. But Gavin Gray from the movie we were talking about earlier, based on a novel that was based on a Heisman Trophy winner. It's a story. It's a sad story because he became an alcoholic, and some of the teammates who may or may not have made this list down the line really struggled with addiction, with alcohol. It was a sad story. But Gavin Gray, Dennis Quaid from Everybody's All-American, makes the list for sure. Good movie, not really rewatchable because it's dark, but nonetheless, he's my RB1. I don't know if you could hear that or not, Mark, but Gavin Gray.
Test of
also
Times.
played by Dennis Quaid.
So here's my number. Here's where. Okay, do this one. This is the one I want you to hear you talk about.
My number 2 on this list.
Yeah.
So Ray Jennings from Draft Day.
Now, this is Hitch's favorite movie. He gave Wayne a task of watching this movie. So Wayne has, it's in a text message, claimed that in Canada, this movie is not available on Netflix. So if there's anybody out there in Canada right
Who
now,
can confirm?
I need you to tell me. I need you to confirm this.
Disappointed in Wayne a little bit that he couldn't get the movie, because I think I stated during our previous episode that even if it is a $9.99, a $7.99 digital thing, or a $2.99 rental, well worth it. Well worth it. To say it's my favorite movie is a stretch, but it's one of the most rewatchable football movies I've ever seen. Especially, it's the only one that I can think of that is just about the draft and focuses around the run up and the lead up to the draft and what happens in the war room, and it's epically awesome for this time of year. But part of my logic here with Ray Jennings on this list, not to spoil it, but the movie's fucking 10 years old, so you should know. You don't see these kids play football very much in this movie. It's all about the run up to the draft. And in the movie, Terry Crews, who is an honorable mention on this list because we didn't use TV much, but Terry Tate, office linebacker, the commercial. But Terry Crews, or Crew, or whatever his name is, he plays a Cleveland Brown legacy, a Cleveland Brown Ring of Honor running back or linebacker. Maybe it's his dad. He plays the dad of Ray Jennings in this movie. So I have a little note here when I'm constructing this roster. We're adding him here because of the pedigree,
Now, when I read your list, I could have swore it was a character from The Office. And I'm like, I have watched The Office a million freaking times, and I've never seen anything to do with football, but now I get it. Okay.
I do have a character from The Office, and we're going to get there, and it's one of the more shallow positions. What I found out through a few different avenues of research is that tight end has not been represented well in movies. It's a very small pool of tight ends to pick from, but we'll get there. You've seen Draft Day?
No, I've seen
What's
Draft
your thoughts
Day.
on Draft Day?
I like Draft Day a lot. Actually, Bob Lesage was just asking me if, referencing you, and I said that's his favorite football movie to watch over and over again. I think it's a good movie. I mean, it's the ending is pretty movie-like, right? It's a feel-good story towards the end, but not many movies where they actually cover the draft. And I think that's changed the way that the NFL has kind of given us more of a backstage look at things with Hard Knocks, with Draft Day, with the biopics, with quarterbacks on Netflix, right? There's options out there now to really familiarize yourself with the behind the scenes of the business.
Yeah, and to realize that, for a wide swath of sport fan, this is one of the biggest days on the calendar all year. I mean, we just saw a fantastic Masters. We look forward to the World Series. Wings missed the fucking playoffs again, but draft day has that upper echelon feel of something special, something to look forward to all year. So the NFL's
It does. I mean, they do a really nice job with it. Something that I truly wish, you get excited. The NBA draft is on, and after the first 5 picks, you're over it, right?
Well, and they don't do.
I couldn't even tell you when the MLB draft
They
is.
don't do a lottery, which is awesome. I understand the concept of a draft lottery in some of these other sports that have 80 or 100 plus games a year, where tanking is like a real possibility for some of these teams. But unless you have a damn near sure thing, you're not going to tank a football game. Losing a football game is like, I think I read it's like somewhere near the equivalent of 4 or 5 NBA losses. It's the equivalent of like an 8, 9, 10 game losing streak in baseball. You don't recover and be poisoning yourself for a late season deep run after you lose a couple of games, especially right out of the gate. So tanking in football doesn't have to be mitigated the way that it does in baseball, basketball, and hockey. So earning your draft pick on merit also is unique.
But look at look at baseball. You compare the MLB versus the NFL. The first round, right? All the MLB first round picks, that does not usually translate to shit, right? I mean, it's not one of those where, like I look at the MLB draft, it's more about quality over quantity in that sense. There's just not all these hot prospects. In the NFL, there's like you're either going to get a first and a second round premier pass rusher, or the next level is 5 rows below.
Right,
I mean,
big drop off,
huge drop off is what I'm trying to say.
Huge drop off, and there's no.
So you're either going to get absolute monsters or you're whiffing. I mean, so it's boomer bust.
Well, there's no feeder system that is tangible or reliable in the NFL. There's no partnership for a minor league, if you will. Whereas in baseball, in hockey, you can afford to draft for the future, develop players. But football, if you're not hitting on 2 of your first 3 picks, that's a bad draft for you. And it's even when you do have a sure thing. Look back at old tape. Look back at old episodes of NFL Live. Look back at SportsCenter and Mel Kiper and every other pundit in the world just singing the praises of Ryan Leaf, right? So even when you do have this surefire next best thing, look at your Andrew Lucks. I mean, that's a sad story, and it played out much differently than the Ryan Leafs of the world. But even when you have a generational talent, there's no guarantee. So that makes the NFL draft. I mean, there's no guarantee in any of these drafts, but look at Cade turning it on. The Pistons were allowed to give Cade some time. Look at Torkelson, 308, 5 home runs, 15 RBIs, I think, when I looked today. Torkelson was a consensus sure thing, and it took him like 3 years to start playing up to his ability, and we've only had this small sample size of him playing up to his ability. But they have the feeder systems, they have the development systems, whereas the NFL doesn't. It's
the doctor just brought up a good point. They've got the farm in the MLB, and you don't have a farm in the NFL.
Right. The way that they've made some changes to the practice squad and the ability to move guys up and down is giving a little bit more latitude than just this 53-man roster. But there is no real feeder system. There is no Rule 5 draft. It's you got one shot once a year to make your team better via draft, and if you miss, you miss, and it sucks. You set your franchise back.
Well, speaking of feeders, why don't you feed us some more picks?
So after the Ray Jennings with his NFL pedigree, I have true freshman Darnell Jefferson from the program. I think it was Omar Epps, right? Yeah.
Yep.
What stands out to me, at least with Omar Epps in that movie, is when they made him carry the ball around, and they said, if you don't bring this ball back, you're fucked. And the scene, I think it was scrambling through the cafeteria after somebody punched that ball out, is classic.
I think about that scene all the time. Any time I see a kid holding a ball, I think of that. Almost to the point where I forget what movie it came from. You know, like sometimes you'll just quote something and you're like, "What was that
Yeah.
from?" I know that was
Yeah,
from
it's
something.
become kind of like, at least for football fans, it's become like a little bit of a trope. You see somebody carrying a ball, you want to punch it out.
Well, before you go off on another tangent, who's your other running back?
That's it. That's three of them. That's Gavin Grave, Dennis Quaid, everybody's
Okay.
All-American, Ray Jennings, and Darnell Jefferson from the program.
So now wide receivers. This one
Don't overlook one of my favorite positions of all time. If we're going in depth chart order, we got to talk about the fullbacks, right?
the old right swing
Yep.
back from the high school era.
So
Back when they had leather helmets. Let's hear about your fullback.
So, again, nerding out on this and way over analyzing it, this is my only true positional switch. As GM of this fantasy football movie team here, I pulled a position switch, and it's one, if not the only, mention of TV. It's Tim Riggins from Friday Night Lights, the TV show.
The TV show.
Now, have
okay.
you ever watched any of this?
No, I haven't. I can't be honest
Fucking
with you.
fantastic. The cast
it?
throughout that series is a bunch of pretty famous people at the time, and then loaded with people that became famous. I don't know if it's because of the exposure from this show, but Michael B. Jordan played a huge part. I forget the name of the actor that plays Tim Riggins, but he was handed a Disney franchise, a live-action Disney movie that kind of flopped. They spent a ton of money on it. Can't recall the name. Wasn't worth watching. Didn't finish it, but it was kind of like Conan the Barbarian goes to outer space. It looked badass.
Oh, geez, I wonder why it didn't.
Right,
go
it
so
looked
well.
badass in the preview, and this kid from this show, I can't think of his name, but he was getting propped up by some major Hollywood studios to be like the next big thing. He's still acting, still in some legit stuff, but in the TV version of Friday Night Lights, he plays a running back. He plays a very stereotypical old school Texas kind of pro style running back, which in today's NFL would lend itself more to the fullback position.
I was going to say, you're just describing the fullback.
He's got, in the show at least, he's got hands. He quicker than fast, but not a real gifted athlete. He's just a banger. You know, he's like more of the Corey Sledge style running back to bring it around to the Detroit Lions, the Allstott, the Schlesinger. So I took the liberty of making a position switch here. There were some other fullbacks that I could have pulled from, but this is my fullback.
This is my fullback. That's my fullback. All right.
Yep.
Let's get into wide receivers there, Bucko. Because,
You're overlooking.
this is
You're
gonna-
overlooking another one, man. The tight ends in true depth chart order, going Madden depth chart order. I think it's tight end next. Maybe not, but you noticed an Office reference in my notes here, and
I did.
Roy from The Office played the tight end in The Replacements.
That's what you were referencing.
Yeah, and I could have went into television. There was a great show on HBO, I think, back in the day. It only had one season. I think it was called Playmakers. I don't know if you're familiar with that. The tight end in that story was central to the first and only season. Great show. You should watch it if you can find it. Again, it would be worth
Playmakers. That might be something Jason will like. He watches All American, which is a similar
Well, in
thing.
Playmakers,
It's so dramatic.
Playmakers
though.
is
It's like the OC meets
right.
football.
Playmakers is racy. Playmakers was made for cable, and it, especially at that point in time, could have only been on cable. Rumor is with Playmakers that it was too real, that the NFL basically said, pull the plug on this, or we're pulling any NFL content that we've licensed to you. And at the time, was it called Inside the Huddle or something? HBO has a football show still. And the NFL threatened to pull the plug on that because, albeit fictitious, they were exposing kind of the darker side of the NFL. I can't recall the name of the tight end in Playmakers, but the whole season, most of the drama, and I think what the NFL really didn't like, is that the tight end was a closeted he was gay, and was
He was a closeted
yep.
gay.
Yep. And he was very concerned in this series about coming out of the closet. They made a lot of homophobic
So this had to
references.
be kind of on the, I don't want to say in the back end before people woke up and just became normal and accepted people, but like this must have been kind of right when things were still archaic with the mindset.
Yeah, dude, it was certainly well before before this wasn't such a taboo subject. Don't ask me why it ever was, but this is something in a time period in the early 2000s, probably. I think we were still in high school, where this stuff was kind of unspoken, and the don't ask, don't tell, and the show didn't pull any.
God, that really dates us, man.
Yeah, the show didn't pull any punches. There was a lot of good character development in that show. There was a great story arc with the running back and some domestic violence issues, and it was a great fucking show, but it got yanked because the NFL said this is too real. We don't want this press. So I drew Roy from The Office as my tight end, kind of by default, because there really wasn't much else to choose from. I was able to pull up a couple other lesser quality football movies, but I didn't recognize the actors, didn't recognize the tight ends as anything noteworthy, so I went with Roy from The Office. But if we were doing TV, I would 1,000 out of 1,000 times go with the other tight end.
If we were doing TV, it all just starts and ends with Hayden Fox.
Right. And you know what?
And Jerry.
I didn't do coaches either. That's something we can get to, and I can pick your brain, and we can talk about some of the better movie coaches. So, and if we were doing,
So the doctor brings up a good point. What about the tight end from Varsity Blues?
So
Homie partied pretty hard.
So I've seen Varsity Blues 1,000 times, and if you look at Varsity Blues, interestingly enough, Tweeter played in and out of the slot, took snaps, and ran out of wide receiver 1 or wide receiver X, and also played tight end. So there's a little bit of disparity in who was the tight end in Varsity Blues.
Yeah. So we need to bring up the playbook from Varsity Blues and see where he was actually slotted.
Yeah, I went hard into this. I have answers for all of these questions. Keep them coming.
I have answers. I'm
struggling to see the chat though. Where is our chat? It says studio chat. Is that what or live stream
yeah, under
chat?
people.
Okay, six dudes in here.
Right under people, there should be a chat. You just have to open it.
Got it. Doctor, thanks, Doc. So you're eager to get into the wide receivers.
I am.
What? Who's making your list at wide receiver?
Well, so your number 2 would be my number 1, and that's why I'm excited for you to talk about that.
I forget that I've given you advance access to this list because we hemmed and hawed about whether I should or not.
Well, I needed a source of reference, so I didn't kind of state the obvious, and I'm actually glad I do, because once we get into the defensive side of things, that's we'll see. You'll see once you hit cornerback.
Yeah, I have some good banter here coming up about the defense because I didn't actually make some position switches, but it was hard to pick a defense without understanding if we were running the 4-3 or the 3-4.
See, the doctor's right.
Yeah, dude, for real. Because positional switches come in. What is a pass rusher? Are they a D-end? Are they a stand-up linebacker? It makes a difference in what type of defense we're going to run. So,
are you going to put a spy out there? I get
it. Anyways, my top wide receiver, Doc will dig this, I think, Tweeter. Not only because Scott Kahn's a badass, because, by osmosis through James Kahn, but Tweeter, a lot of fun, man. I think we all spent a lot of our formative years quoting Varsity Blues, watching certain scenes on repeat. DVD was a game changer for that movie, but Tweeter for sure. I mean, sure hands, not scared to go over the middle. Maybe in a pro style. Think about like a 25-year-old Tweeter is like a Wes Welker type receiver.
That's the way I see it.
All right.
Tweeter was Welker before Welker was even a thought.
Well, Welker is pretty old, dude. I think Welker... Shit, how old were we when Varsity Blues came out? Perfect age, right? Like 13, 14, probably?
Yeah.
So Welker, I don't know. I'm older than I realized, but how old is Wes Welker? Probably 45?
Varsity Blues was 99.
So I would have
Wes
been
Welker
14 or
is
15 when I saw that movie for the first time.
Dude, Wes Welker was born in 81.
Yeah, so
all right?
what, 40, 43, 44?
He's 43.
Okay. All right, yeah. So same wheelhouse.
It's right there up there with
All
you.
right, well,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, dude. That inspired Wes Welker to be Wes Welker.
Sure it did, actually. We should call him and verify. I can do that this week, but I'm sure it did.
Yeah. If you could reach out, I'd appreciate
I'll-
that. But what I'd like you to really do is show me the money.
There you go. Hard for me.
Been waiting for like 4 days.
Hard
to say
for
that.
me to put him in here, but this is going to show how unbiased I am towards this list. I don't. Maybe unpopular opinion, but I don't think that movie has held up well. I think it's kind of become cliche and a joke.
100%.
And
Everything with Tom Cruise in it now, if you really look at it, is pretty cheesy. He's such a cheesy little weird
yeah,
dude.
dude. I mean, there's no denying that he's talented, and there's been some bangers. I mean, Top Gun was fucking legit, and the Mission Impossible from 1 through 14 or whatever the fuck they're on now has been awesome. But rom-com, comedy, drama, it's not my thing, really. I mean, there's...
You hate that kid in that movie. I know
I
you
kind
do.
of do, man. But he was talented.
That kid drives you nuts.
He's got a big head, dude. I pictured him as like a Donkey Kong mode adult. My neighbor owns a rabbit or some shit. Like, what was funny about that?
You ever seen So I Married an Ex-Murderer with Mike
Head,
Myers?
pants, no.
Head.
Yeah. It's like an orange on a toothpick.
That's what that reminds me of. He
Great reference.
But that kid, man, I'll tell you what, well, his parents probably had a large payday from that movie because he was everywhere in the 90s.
Not quite Jonathan Taylor Thomas status, but yeah, he had a run. I wonder if he's
If
alive.
you want to look up something right now, look up Jonathan Taylor Thomas right now. He's looking pretty
I
rough.
kind of think I saw something come across my feed about that. Like, I think I aged better than JTT. Yeah,
Ooh.
that's saying
I think
that's
you're
saying
right.
something.
Jonathan Lipnicki, that was the kid.
Is he alive and acting or like?
Yeah, what happened to him? He is known for his role as a lovable son in Jerry Maguire. He stepped away from acting for a period to focus on more normal high school experience and other interests. He now lives in Oklahoma and works as an executive producer for Buffalo 8
I
Productions.
wonder if that's code, like stepped away to pursue normal high school or stepped away to whatever. Is that code for like the offer to stop coming because you're not a cute little kid anymore?
I think it's code for his parents weren't going to sell him off to Hollywood, and they were like, no, this is too much. We're getting out of this.
Are you putting on your tinfoil hat again?
Ooh, it's always on. No, I seriously think that some of these kids, man, what history has shown us is that here, let's see what Jonathan Lipnicki looks like now.
I mean, a normal looking dude. It's hard to tell if he's still like 5'1" or whatever, but
It says speaker split screen, so I hope everybody sees the split screen. But yeah, he looks pretty normal. Let's look up JTT.
Doc agrees with the Rod Tidwell pick. I guess I'm in the minority, man. It just wasn't that good of a movie, and Cuba Gooding is a douche. That's JTT, huh?
Ooh. Yeah, like a professor.
You got to do a side-by-side of me from, like, Ardmore photo day and then a image of me now. I would bet that the consensus would be that we have both aged better than JTT.
I would think so. And don't make me pull up Facebook. I think it's your older sister. I found on her Facebook some pictures of you and John.
There's some bangers out there.
Oh, dude, you guys were the cutest little
It's the
things
twin
ever.
factor.
He's still a good-looking man. You, not
Yeah,
so much.
People are really bent out of shape when they find out that we're twins, man. It's it's like one of those pictures, like first day doing meth, and 5 years later, we've lived a very different life. He spends
you
as
have.
much on skincare products as I spend on Rolling Rock and Marlboro. So let's put it that way.
As you spend on destroying your skin.
Yeah. It's takes a lot of time, a lot of work, a lot of effort, a lot of money to look this good.
You know, I would love to get John on here so that for the people that have not had the pleasure of meeting your twin brother, I think that would
You know,
be fun.
Jerry Maguire might be the one quote unquote football movie that John has seen.
And that would be a great reason to get him on here too, because he's a movie buff in a whole nother realm, right? He's a pop culture guy in a whole different
his
realm.
Pop culture knowledge puts me to shame. You ever hear that guy play
Right, that's what I'm
6
saying.
Degrees of Kevin Bacon or whatever they call it?
Yeah, that was a high school game that was like a hey, you want to see something my friend does that you can't.
Do you remember at
I
your
remember
apartment
that.
at Central, like 50 games of beer pong in, somebody challenged John, and it kind of went around the room, and I want to say that he linked a silent movie star, like somebody from the 30s, to Kevin Bacon in like 4 moves. And he dropped to one knee in your living room and screamed, I am a movie god, and shotgunned a beer in front of like 100 people.
I mean, he is though. You're just giving me more of a reason to now get him
Yeah,
on
dude,
here.
that would be fun. That would be a lot of fun. At least get him into this live chat one of these nights at the very least.
That would be awesome. I want some pudding on the foil. Want some from the best hockey movie?
Best hockey movie.
We know what the best.
Interesting.
You know what the best hockey movie is? Slapshot.
Well, I was going to say, yeah, Slapshot. I know what the best hockey movie is. I would say that there's a room divided here with Slapshot and Mighty Ducks. There's a place in my heart for Mighty Ducks, but when you look at Gordon Bombay, little baby Gordon Bombay, scoring something like 140 goals or something, and then giving up his hockey career because he missed a penalty shot that wasn't even consequential towards winning the game. In the movie, they went on to win the game. So the deepest flaw in almost every sports movie is that Gordon Bombay, hockey prodigy, left hockey because he didn't score on a penalty shot that was awarded to him when the game wasn't even on the line. That's my beef with Mighty Ducks.
I can add to this beef. So, do you recall how many goals he scored in his 14 Pee Wee games?
Oh, dude, it was like 130 or something.
198.
Yeah, so that's a goal. Like, if you do the math on this, and this isn't a unique thought,
14.2 goals per game. Impossible.
So that's more than a goal. Wait, what did you say? How many goals per game?
It's 14.2 goals a game.
Yeah, so it's like, shit, dude. 60 minutes in a game. That's almost a goal every every 2 minutes or whatever? Yeah, so he gives up on this, walks away from it because he didn't score, because the guy that played the newspaper director in the TV show of Superman told him that he sucked. Like, come on, dude.
Right, because he gets normally 14.2 goals a game, and the one time he doesn't get 14.2 goals a game, he
And they
gives
still
up.
won the game.
That's not a
They
good
still won
lesson
the
to
fucking
teach
game,
kids.
dude.
Well, the website I just pulled up was Gordon Bombay is a terrible person, and I think we're making a solid argument for it. Not to mention the Goldberg, the goalie, went through some rough times as an adult.
Talk about the meth photo. Yeah, he has. There's a good side by side of the meth photo and a more current photo where he pulled his shit together. So good for him.
He was just on the Are You Garbage podcast, and they were interviewing him, and he was talking about how he cleaned himself up.
I love that podcast, dude. I didn't know you were a fan.
Yeah, I've been listening to that podcast for a couple of years now.
The standout to me, and I've heard quite a few of them, but you got to circle back to the Paul Reiser episode from last year, I think.
Paul
yeah,
Reiser,
dude, there's some good shit in there about some very interpersonal interactions that he had with George Carlin before he was even famous. Yeah, that's
not going to make me mad about you.
No,
is it?
no, it'll make you happy about Paul.
Sorry, when I'm gone, I'm on.
All right, so we could do a whole nother episode on hockey movies or sports movies in general. Let's see, what's the chat doing over here? Matt and Shane's Secret Pod is the best. I'll have to check that one out. I don't know what that is.
Oh, that one's really good. That's Shane Gillis's pod too.
All right,
Yeah.
I have mixed.
Thanks, Ryan.
Thank you. I have mixed feelings on Gillis, but that's another episode for a whole nother day. Where were we? We were with Show Me the Money. Okay, this
You were going to go on wide receiver
yeah
3, wide receiver 4.
I stopped at 3 here, but going back full circle to a very underrated football movie, Reno Hightower was his QB, Kurt Russell, and he got the redemption opportunity, the whole redemption arc of this movie. Robin Williams from the same movie that we just talked about. And the best part about this movie is they didn't do any trick photography or anything like that. It was Robin Williams. It was skinny, like 1980s, coked out Robin Williams playing wide receiver. Just a fun movie. And he's my number 3. And believe it or not, he's probably the deep ball threat on this list.
Good God.
Yeah, I can't tell you enough to watch this movie. It's got not just
your team is built for the 1970s.
Not just because of Kurt Russell, but it has a real like rewatchable kind of like Overboard vibe to it. Just some of those bangers that were coming out in the 80s and early 90s, kind of a Captain Ron feel, you know, just really rewatchable. One of those things that I can't believe you. I think that when you put it on, you're gonna recognize some of it because it was one of those things that was on TBS or TNT or something like a lot, but definitely worth. Right
next to Air Bud. Golden receiver.
In my notes, I had like a page 2 going here where I was just scribbling all over, and I flirted with Air Bud as my 4th, but I didn't want to.
Ooh!
I didn't want to give up the integrity of this list. I didn't want to sacrifice the integrity.
There's a lot of integrity
so
in this.
far. I mean, this.
Hate to bark up the wrong wall.
No pun intended.
That's 2 in a row.
Hey, dude, so listen up, dude. I just got a text. My brother John, he must be listening. I don't see him on the message board, but he says, "Challenge me again, motherfucker." He wants a connection here. Let's see, he's still going. I'm at the bar.
Oh my Lord.
And I think this is a typo, but he says Mike or Michelle, somebody called me to tell me you challenged my honor. That's awesome, dude. I don't know if we can think of a good football. Whoa, he must really be at the bar because he's blowing me up.
What's his email?
Oh, I think it's John, Jon Scarcella at iCloud, I think.
It's probably nothing of that.
Ask a watcher on your message board for an actor, and I will 6-degree the fucking fuck out of it.
Oh, he's at
the bar, dude. Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome.
Man.
Think about the most obscure.
You gotta
think
love
about
it.
The most obscure actor, and he'll do it. He'll do it back to Kevin Bacon.
I know he will. Listen. I can guarantee you I challenged him with my arrogant attitude in 2004, and he put me to shame.
There's
I know
just
it.
nothing that he can't do, and you'll notice his little algorithm. A lot of it reverts back to Scream and to Wild Things with Kevin Bacon. Yeah,
okay.
He'll do the most wildest shit.
I'll tell you what, I think I can do this now with politicians. I mean, you just follow the bloodline.
It all goes back to Anthony Weiner. So like the 6 degrees of Anthony Weiner, right? I think I've gotten dirty texts and emails from Anthony Weiner. Honestly, it's like a spam. How perfect is that? That was destiny. That might be proof that we live in a simulation. That this guy named Anthony Weiner can't stop sending pictures of his wiener.
We have, I could probably do 3.5 hours of why we live in a simulation. And that's one of the reasons, but there's a lot more that goes with that.
We have talked before about the way that we just like to riff, and we need to do like another podcast, an off-season podcast, and we need to start with a 3-hour episode of you riffing on Anthony Weiner. Yeah.
That'd be a great one to get. We'll go live late night for that one.
Yeah, like Fan Forum After Dark.
There we go. That's actually a really good idea. A fan forum after dark. You're full of them.
I'm full of.
You could get on some people. Well, we're at 50 minutes, so what do you want to do? Do you want to bust through some defense and O-line?
Well, I can blast through this. We've been having fun here, getting into my rationale of all of this. But how long have we been on here?
It says 50 minutes, but Feels like 20
Well,
seconds.
I'm good for another 50. I don't know what you got, but I can pick up the pace here a little. My offensive line, I had a lot of fun with this one.
This is one that I can tell you had a lot of fun
there was
with.
some low-hanging fruit here, and
Well, let's start with the obvious, the one that everybody wants to
Billy
hear.
Bob. Look at this.
Okay,
Look at the
thank
size of that sausage, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Puke and rap.
You want to talk about something that could never happen again is that scene, the everything with Billy Bob and the way that was handled and the way they put him back
dude,
in.
a lot of these movies and some of these TV shows that we've referenced, they just can't happen, including The Office. Like today,
No.
it can't happen.
No, I can't.
There is something to be said for comedy. Comedy is like the past, as long as you're ripping on everybody.
Yeah.
But some of these movies just wouldn't have been made, or if they were greenlit, they would have had a red band trailer and an NC-17 release, and nobody would have seen them, right? I remember
you wouldn't. That's why we don't see comedies
I
anymore.
remember my Uncle Mike coming over in the early 2000s to help me set up my home theater system, right? My theater in a box, if you will. And the only DVD that I owned at the time was Any Given Sunday. And he had his kids with him that were a few years younger than me and much more sheltered when it came to the media that they were allowed to consume. And the only movie that I had to play as a sound test for like 2 hours was Any Given Sunday. And you remember DVDs, how sometimes they would skip like a record, right?
Oh, yeah.
The scene that it was like frozen on repeat was LL Cool J talking about, I mean, I can say whatever I want, right?
Sure, this is America.
Talking about a hooker snorting bumps of blow off of his dick. And it was stuck on that scene while my uncle was helping me run the speaker wire and shit. So some of these movies just honestly wouldn't be patronized. They wouldn't be attended. They would be rated X and taboo nowadays.
Well, they don't even make comedies anymore. They don't really. I mean, it's basically John Cena jumps out of a moving missile to save 3 kids,
Yeah,
and
it's all
just the same
straight
stupid shit over
to
and over.
streaming. And what can we cram? John Cena and The Rock and Kevin Hart and what folly can we put them in now, right? All right, but you said we're a little pressed for time here, so Billy Bob is going to make everybody's list, I think.
Everybody loves Billy Bob.
What is Danny saying over here?
Are there any sports teams in the state of Alaska in the U.S. that competes in the NBA, MLB, NHL, and MLS? That's a good point. I don't think
There's
there
been
is.
movies about. There's been some legit movies. Talk about hockey movies. Mystery Alaska is top notch. But no, there is not. And you know what? It's because of the flight. It really is. To seriously answer his question, it's because of the
Yeah,
flight
that's true.
and the population. You're not going to build a stadium in Alaska or anywhere near it.
Who's going
I
to
mean,
play
it would
there?
be smaller than Lakeview's auditorium, right? Even if they were the fiercest fan base in the entire league, you're going to get like 1,000 of them to show up if they're not snowed in, right? So there's just a lot of logistics that go into that.
A lot of aliens living in Alaska, too.
Isn't that where all the Democrats live? The reptilians under the ice cap?
Antarctica.
Okay.
Got to go to the South Pole to get to the reptile. Actually, South Pole, Antarctica, you're going to get the what's that? The ones Hitler was looking for. The Aryans, the Nordics.
I feel like I should know this.
Admiral, you should look up Admiral Byrd. Apparently, he took a flight and a journey when they were trying to get into Antarctica in like the 40s. He led the journey over there, and there's quite an interesting story that he titles about his plane and where it got sucked into and what he
I think
saw.
Mary Shelley detailed this in the beginning of Frankenstein.
You'd see a lot of parallels with some of these, we'll call them my tinfoil hat stories of pop culture and how you've kind of gone, oh, I could see why they'd write about this to make this look almost not normal if they do talk about it.
Interesting. This is a topic for the Fan Forum After Dark, I think.
Admiral Byrd. Look it up.
I will. So Billy Bob, a number one for sure. Now, Louis or Louis, I'm not going to lie, I never knew he had a last name, but Lastic, Louis Lastic from
Yep.
Remember the Titans.
From Remember
Yeah,
the Titans. I love
great
that movie.
Great movie. It's aged well. And I think Wayne brought it up. Is that or was it you or Wayne? Is that a classic football movie, or was that just a great vehicle for Denzel?
Classic football movie, because Jason's got it in his history of movies classes
Really?
that they're
Really?
watching. So it's
Okay.
yeah. Well, I mean, think about what it does. I mean, there's some great acting in it. It talks about the real issues that were going on in the
For
South.
sure.
Well, let's just say it was all over, man. It wasn't just the South.
Yeah.
Real
The
issues
ra-
that were
the
going on
race
in that time.
relations and
Yeah, the whole nonsense, right? And how it didn't define everybody, right? And there were it honestly just tells a story about there's some good freaking people out there.
banger
right?
of a
And
soundtrack too.
How you can
soundtrack was fucking great. Dude.
Jesus.
You remember the
Oh.
morning run through the cemetery with Bob Dylan in the background, and that
Mhm.
was kind of the galvanizing moment at the end of training camp. That gives me the chills.
Dude, I'm so disappointed in Bob Dylan. He's such a fan.
Such a narc.
He's such a nerd.
And also Louis over here, he had a good singing voice, man. It's not the only movie that I remember him
true.
singing in, all the way from American History X down to My Name is Earl. The guy can sing.
Lost a lot of weight too.
Yeah, which then his roles diminish. You see that with these large character actors. They get in shape and they live healthy, and then they're not filling that typecast anymore.
He was what was his name in Boy Meets World?
Oh God, I don't know. No idea. Probably spaghetti or something weird.
Frankie Stefano. Big Van Vader was his dad.
Huh.
Doctor, I know you know who Big Van
Yeah.
Vader is. Jesus Christ, look at this guy. He looks, I mean, this looks like you in high school, dude.
Figured it.
Let me see.
I wish. But Jesus Christ.
You think that's diminishing his roles?
I don't think he's getting these roles anymore, but good for him, man.
Not as the fat.
Oh,
dude,
he was
but
in Butterfly. He was in
250
Butterfly
pounds.
Effect. He was the goth roommate in Butterfly Effect.
He was in Blow Without a Paddle. Yeah, he was in some bangers.
For
you're
sure,
right.
dude. For sure.
Dun-dun-dun.
ESPN popping off. It's probably telling me that I'm continuing to get crushed in my hockey league.
Oh, your fantasy
dude,
hockey
I
league?
barnstormed all the way through. I didn't have a loss in the regular season, literally, and then I lost first round of the playoffs, and I'm getting smoked in the third place game.
If anyone is in his hockey league that's on here right now, I want to fact check
Mike
that.
Mike
that he's
McGroarty,
lost
Mike
nothing.
McGroarty, my brother-in-law listens every week. He could send you the screenshot of I think I had 2 or 3 ties and 0 losses, and then got smoked in the playoffs.
Well, speaking of fact checking, Bone messaged me about your comment
Charles
about.
Rogers.
He's very upset with you.
Rightfully so, man. I downplayed Rogers' contributions to his first game because he was so overshadowed by Anquan Bolden. And this is something we talked about last week. And when he texted me and called me out, all I could really say was, well, thanks for listening. Right?
Well, I appreciate it, Bone, and I hope you're listening to this episode and taking notes of all the facts
Oh,
you're
we-
checking.
I
But
had
think
a-
with this episode you've done
I
pretty
had
good.
a good time last night with a couple of beers and me going through my group chat with Brett and Bone, talking about once I got on the backside of this list and they started getting, nobody makes movies about D tackles, right? So it gets harder to dig deep, and they were helping me out last night. We had a lot of fun with this.
Well, you got a defensive end that I want to get to
Well,
right now.
let me blast through
because-
real quick. I don't have to give exposition on all of this, but the
Okay.
Jackson brothers from Replacements, the big dudes, and then the program's Bud Kaminsky for sure, and then maybe my favorite on this list, and I'll implore everybody to watch this movie. 6.1, I think, on IMDb. It wasn't a big Oscar contender or anything, but back to Everybody's All-American. John Goodman played the collegiate offensive lineman to Gavin Gray, and football had very little to do with this movie. And after the movie plays out over many years, and John Goodman just progressively gets crazier and crazier and crazier and crazier. It's a great, if not a great movie, it's an awesome standout performance by John Goodman as an offensive lineman, I think, for LSU. So there's our O-line. There's our starting offense. You want to talk about the end?
I want to talk about defense.
All right. I think that the defensive end number one here is pretty obvious. What
It's 100%
if you've
obvious.
seen the movie, which you should have seen the movie, it's a no-brainer with Latimer.
Yep. Steve.
Yep, you remember, of course, him being roided out and putting his head through the car window in the parking lot, and I mean, that movie is just packed full of memorable scenes, not just Latimer, but across the board. Talk about movie coaches, you got to talk about James Caan. They coined the phrase "Are you hurt or are you injured?" in that movie.
Yeah, I never thought about that.
It's a fantastic movie, and yeah,
Dude,
look at this psycho, dude. Look at this psycho with the face paint. I mean, look at how jacked he is in that wife beater picture.
That picture sat above your bed for how many years in high school?
Every year that I did steroids.
Yeah, which was a lot. You did a lot of steroids in high school.
Uh-huh.
I've never seen you go from 5'8" to 6'3" in one summer.
And
it was
back
pretty
down
impressive.
to 5'5".
And just right back,
That's
right back to square
Johnny
one.
Boy's blowing me up here again.
Hey, tell him to check his email if you gave me the right email.
He said, "Give me an actor." 4 words, 4 words, 4 periods.
He is pissed.
If I don't reply in less than 2 minutes, I will give one of your followers $100. He wants an actor, dude. If Doc is still on here, give him an actor. I mean, Doc has been with us the whole time.
Yeah, come on, Doc.
Obscure. We'll get Johnny.
Doc is the secret brains behind this whole operation. He is the Zordon. He is our Zordon.
Interesting.
We are just the Power Rangers.
Maybe Zordon
Just
can
letting you know
stump
that.
John here. I bet you $1,000 that John can link Zordon to Kevin Bacon.
Oh, easily. The guy that played Zordon to Kevin
He can
Bacon.
do that. Well, Doc is thinking we can ask him this one. Let's see. He must be listening live now. He said, "Challenge accepted." We got some live listeners going, dude, because Mike from the hockey league that we were just talking about sent the screenshot of my wins and losses, and I stand corrected. I had 1 loss in week 2. One loss in week 2.
Thank you, Mike. I knew it.
Hell yeah. Oh,
I'm
and look,
so
another
glad.
one in March. So 2 losses all regular season, and then absolutely steamrolled in the playoffs. Absolutely fist fucked.
Folks, you've heard it live. He cannot get it right. I'm glad there's a fact
Tell
checker out
another good football movie. Tell the truth. Dude, I'm digging the live engagement, man. This is cool. This is really cool.
Isn't it
Yeah,
fun?
yeah.
Makes it a little bit more interesting. Feel human again.
Yep. Yeah, dude. Let's see if Johnny replied here.
Hitch, there was somebody on that roster that I texted you this morning. That I
Oh,
didn't even
yeah.
look at.
Hell
And
yeah.
and I did a double glance, and I'm so glad you brought this up.
Of course,
because,
you've seen the movie, right? Multiple times. Yeah, it's
1,000
right in your
times,
right in your
1,000
wheelhouse.
times. Dolan used to call me.
Yeah, the ticket scalper.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Yep.
what was his goddamn name?
It was
like
hold
one
on.
name, right?
How am I? Fast times. I wish Dolan was watching right now. Mike Damone.
Damone. I can see
Damone.
it.
Yep. Dolan gave me a lot of Damone love. Obscure Clint Howard.
Oh,
shit,
dude, that's going to be
obscure.
super easy if you think about that because he's been the character actor and everything. Wasn't he in Remember the Titans?
Okay, well, you're just. This is for John. This isn't for you.
Yeah, that's going to be a slam dunk for John. I mean, he's in everything, or was in everything. He was in Apollo 13 with Kevin Bacon.
I completely
Yeah,
forgot
I did that
about
in one, Doc.
Don't even have to pass it to the
I
other
am the
embryo.
golden god.
I got it. All kneel before me.
He may
I
have
love
been
it.
in Tremors with Kevin Bacon. I would have to look at that.
I know ChatGPT could just give me the instant answer, but I don't want to do that.
So where are we at here? Let's get through this. Another positional change in where I said defensive scheme comes into play is Gary Bertier, who is a pretty solidified up the middle guy. He's the
Yep.
he's the Stephen Boyd of the Titans, right? There's no outside for this guy, but in today's NFL, he would be built more like a Hutchinson or something. I think that he's got the long arms and the build to be a 3-4. I'm sorry, a 4-3 edge rusher. Certainly a 3-4 stand up outside edge rusher. But if you want to call him a middle linebacker, call him a middle linebacker. We can pencil him in at middle linebacker. We can talk about him at D end. Some fatigue was setting in here, and I didn't go after D tackles. Give me some time here if we have it, and I can come up with a few. Replacements keeps coming back up because it's the only football movie that sincerely focuses on each and every position. 25 or 35 minutes of that movie is
that's the whole name of the movie.
Them
the
going
They're
down
replacing
the
every
right,
position.
saying, we want this wide receiver. We want this tackle. We want this D tackle, right? So that consistently pops back up throughout all these lists because it's so position centric. I'm a fan of my linebackers here, and what you were already alluding to with Fast Times at Ridgemont High is Charles Jefferson, played by Forrest Whitaker. An absolute man possessed after he was led to believe that his opponents fucked with his car, right?
Hitch, 2 tickets to Earth, Wind, and Fire. Charles Jefferson. All right. Yeah, it's a good-looking kid.
Right. And this circumstance in this movie, in relation to this character, coined maybe one of the best movie lines of all time. Don't worry, man. My dad has tools. We can fix this. Right. Right.
My brother's going to kill us. He's going to kill me.
My dad's a TV repairman. He's got tools. We can fix this. So, obviously, not a huge fan. I don't really consider this a football movie, but Bobby Boucher from The Waterboy, you can't take away that force, that absolute trauma inflicted by every illegal hit that he delivered in that movie. Talk about spearing, right, and leading with the crown. I mean, he should have broke if his cowboy collar wasn't this goddamn big, he would have broke his neck on every tackle in that movie.
He had lots of tackling fuel.
Let's see. So a good one here, Danny Bateman, played by Jon Favreau, as the absolutely insane, possessed middle linebacker in The Replacements. That one stood out to me because I believe that they said in that movie that he was a middle linebacker at Michigan State.
Okay, that's why it sticks out.
Elvin Mack wants to buy his mama a house, absolutely open fractures his leg, career over from The Replacements, very traumatic. Bobby is the GOAT. Yeah, Doc is a Waterboy fan. And then the list gets spotty. I didn't look into safeties because, like I said, I was getting tired. But
screw it. Go to kicker. I want to hear it.
I want to mention one cornerback, Tom Cruise, all the right moves, Stefan Dvorak. Only reason he makes this list is it's really the only movie I could think of that featured a cornerback. And granted, it was 1980s, but he wore a cowboy collar. Can you ever tell me in any practical life experience that you have ever seen a cornerback on any level wear a cowboy collar?
I think that was just an aggressive.
It was
for aggressive.
It was
football.
a fashion statement,
and it was total. Because I think Charles Jefferson wore a cowboy collar too, but I don't remember him as being a corner. They had him as like a middle linebacker.
Charles Jefferson for sure was a linebacker, and it makes sense for linebackers, for tackles, for ends, and even some offensive linemen in a sense to wear cowboy collars. But a cornerback in the history of football has never worn a cowboy collar. So interesting choice. But
well, here's what I have to say. All right, go to your thing, and then I got something for John.
All right, let me get through these these special teamers because I had fun with this. Number 1 punt and kick returner is Forrest Gump, right? Anytime you got to hold up a stop sign for a guy because he's just that fast, right? Forrest Gump.
You went to Alabama.
Absolutely. Greenbow, Alabama. And then kicker I had fun with. My first thought, which probably everybody's thought, is going to be Finkel. Finkel is Einhorn, laces out Dan, the whole reveal at the end of the movie, Finkel. But
little footballs.
Yeah, but if you really break it down, there's a pretty legit college football movie starring Scott Bakula and Sinbad. Unnecessary Roughness, where Christy Brinkley played the kicker. So she's got to make this roster.
Watch the episode of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia with Sinbad.
Okay.
Sinbad and Rob Thomas from Matchbox 20 is in it.
Okay.
It's great.
That's immediately where my head went to. I was trying to think of a Rob Thomas actor, but Rob Thomas.
Rob Thomas. All right, well, this is my thing to do.
You want a war? You're going to get one. You want a war?
Come on, Johnny. You want a war? I got one for
Said
you.
to.
An actor that I guarantee you
He said to, but
you are not going to be tied to. Michael Jeter. Exactly. Hold
from
on.
a football movie.
No,
Michael
just a movie.
Jeter.
Actually, yeah, may have been from a football.
Oh, dude,
movie.
he was in
Shade.
Green Mile with Kevin Bacon.
Mm-hmm. God
Yeah.
damn it!
He had the mouse.
Nothing can be done.
Green Mile.
It can't be
Green
done.
Mile.
That was ChatGPT. I said, give me an obscure actor.
Mike McGroarty, my brother-in-law Mike, said the Hanson brothers to Kevin Bacon, which I don't know if I can do it off the top of my head, but there's a lot of famous people in Slapshot. You got the Paul Newman connection, I would think, would be a pretty straight line to Kevin Bacon.
Okay, this is one that would be really hard. Sasha Jensen
Show me his picture or her picture.
played Don Dawson in Dazed and Confused.
Which one was
Right.
Don Dawson?
He's the one with the sweet truck.
So Dazed and Confused is loaded with people.
Don Dawson.
Dazed and Confused has Ben Affleck. Yeah, the connection. No, the connection would be Ben Affleck. You could easily, I think, if I knew off the top of my head, you could connect that back to Wild Things. I think with the Scream connection, and then you're right there with Kevin Bacon. But let's text Johnny Boy.
You got to give me some proof.
Yeah, what's
because Mike's already proved that you don't even know what you're doing in your hockey league.
this is true.
Rory Cochran.
If our few listeners haven't figured out, I'm full of shit. It's all smoke and mirrors over here.
Dude, Rory Cochran, good reference. Empire Records.
Great movie. It was just Record Day the other day, Record Store Day last week.
It was Rex Manning Day, too, a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
What day is Rex Manning Day?
Probably Record Store Day, right? It was like 2 weeks ago.
April 8th.
Yeah. We got to get Johnny on here. He could just rapid fire these off, dude.
We should have had him on for Rex Manning Day. I'm
He's
upset.
at the bar. He's busy. But he owes a fan of our choice $100 because he's listening and he has not responded. What is that noise? You ripping a water bong over there?
No, that's the dog upstairs. I think Alicia's coming home and he's all excited.
Dude, if that's your dog, I don't know. It was your phone, dude. Your phone mic was giving you some feedback on the. Yeah.
Oh, was it really? Wow. No shit.
All right.
Okay.
So what do you think of my list?
I think your list is awesome. I love it, man. I think this has been awesome. We've had the most, I think, engagement that we've ever had. I almost got you to spit beer out of your nose.
Yeah.
The dog hopped up on the thing and pushed me away a few times. So I don't know, man. I'm a big fan of
So
this.
now you got to
thing.
get Alicia on here. Every other member of your household, I think, has made an appearance on here.
I could tell her to walk downstairs right now and she'd be
Tell her to
pissed.
weigh in on these football movies, or give her a challenge to connect somebody to Kevin Bacon.
Let's see.
Can you link Pee Wee Herman? Of course, dude. That Pee Wee movie was, the whole trope in that movie was loaded with cameos, right? I'm sure if I looked at that roster from the Pee Wee Herman movie that it would be in less than 6. But
See, and you would have to do this in like a bracket where you are literally listing the actor list, because that's how your brother does it. He doesn't just give me some cockamamie bullshit. He literally
he will
tell
go
you the
right
movie.
down the line, and he could usually do it in
Yeah.
significantly less than 6.
Yeah, 5 hours later, you're talking about something
Yeah.
else. So yeah, I think we need to get Johnny on here
For sure, dude. That would be legit.
Get John on, get Jack on, get Mare on, get the whole Scarcella family on.
Mare listens, dude. She listens.
So does Melissa. She called me today and asked me if we were recording. So I think she watches
Good,
too.
dude. Maybe I should clean up my language a little bit as our audience is expanding.
She grew up in the same household I grew up in. That's
True.
Okay. She's used
True.
to it.
Stop talking about boners so much, I guess.
Yeah. That's one thing you do talk a lot about. All right. Well, listen, dude, I think this was a great episode. I think I'm going to sign off and go upstairs and chill.
Yeah.
We won't be on next week. I'll be in Florida on vacation, so we'll be taking a week off. I don't know. Maybe we can record something.
And you know what? If I
have
finally figure out how to
somewhere.
use this fucking recording studio, maybe I can jump on and go live or do
you
something.
should. You really
I can
should.
get the old band back together. I can see what Ronnie or Bob or one of those guys is doing.
To one click stop shop, man. You don't even have to go live, or you can go live. It's
Hey,
real
thanks,
easy.
Doc.
Yeah,
Doc says great show, fellas. This it's been a lot of fun, if nothing
thanks.
else.
Yeah, it has been a lot of
Yeah.
fun. Not too many technical errors either.
No,
Shockingly.
dude. Once I was actually able to get in, I was amazed that my camera was functioning and my mic was on, and it was a good one.
Funny how that goes.
Funny.
All right. Well, I can see how people do this for 2 to 3 hours because I really could. But I'm trying to do the best I can at producing and keeping the show into some.
Yeah,
type of
I'm
stream.
thinking. I haven't even floated this one by you, but I'm thinking that maybe round 2, Friday night of the draft. I think it's the 25th of April. We might be able to do a long form live Friday or Saturday.
Yeah, I could probably Saturday. I'll be driving home.
Friday you'll be in Florida.
But yeah, I'll still
Yeah.
be in Florida. I could pop in my phone.
Yeah, you
though.
can pop in.
But-
Maybe we can go live for a little bit and break down some picks as they're happening. See what the Lions did night
Yeah.
one. We'll do something. We won't go
Cool.
go dark.
I dig it, man. Well, thanks everybody for hopping on the live chat. I really appreciate it. Doc, Ryan, Hitch's family, my friends, my
Yeah.
family. So I just really want to say a big shout out to everybody that's been kind of plugging this podcast. I'll still have this episode available on YouTube, and Spotify. But yeah, outside of that, man, one pride and thanks.
Peace.
Peace.